Could have been Wilder 8 years ago or Wilder now. And it is what it is at the end of the day. It's only a fight. It's a weakness. I'm just focused on smashing his head in now. That's it. I'm smashing his head in.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink.
A lot of news and opinions have come out about Anthony Joshua's win against Robert Helenius. Fans are saying it was an amazing fight with little look at Anthony Joshua's former self, to critics pointing out what happens to be the sad truth. Before we get any further into the video, consider following for more boxing news. Anthony Joshua was an amazing boxer when coming in his professional boxing year, compiling a staggering 20 knockouts before finally winning his next fight by unanimous decision, breaking his knockout streak. Joshua managed to cultivate an audience that loved and respected him for being a humble yet deadly boxer. Much like Wilder, he wasn't the best in terms of style, but he was fast, explosive, and broke his opponents down before sending his opponents to the canvas. But one big disadvantage that everyone saw Joshua possessed was his inability to take a punch on the chin.
Right hand, he shakes his head as if to say, you're not landing that one again.
After fighting Vladimir Klitschko, people learned that Joshua didn't possess the strongest of chins, leaving Joshua in a vulnerable position. Of course, Joshua didn't think much of it, and that Klitschko was a great boxer and happened to get lucky and clip him. Then there was the Andy Ruiz fight where Joshua would become a shell of his former self. Joshua had a considerable height and reach advantage, standing at 6 feet and 6 inches, while Ruiz was only 6 feet and 2 inches tall. Ruiz also only had a 74-inch reach, while Joshua had an 82-inch reach. The only thing Ruiz had over Joshua was weight.
6'6", chiseled at just under 248 pounds. Andy Ruiz Jr. is not the body beautiful, 6'2", 268, and again a significant athletic advantage and a significant reach advantage as well for the heavyweight champion, Anthony Joshua.
Joshua would start the fight off strong, throwing powerful jabs and hooks before knocking Andy Ruiz down in the third round. Ruiz would get up in the midst of recovery and Joshua went in to get the finish, ended up getting clipped by a counterpunch by Ruiz, causing him to stagger before eventually getting sent to the canvas.
Strafing right. Ruiz comes to fire back, and Joshua's hurt. Oh,
this is where things would take a turn for the worst for Anthony Joshua. Joshua would still be trying to recover, staying near the ropes and pumping his jab. But Ruiz managed to explode out of his stance and hit Joshua with a powerful combination, sending Joshua to the canvas yet again.
Joshua is hurt, he's staggered, and he goes down again!
Joshua would be saved by the bell and survive the next couple of rounds. Round 7 would come quick and Joshua would get clipped once again. Ruiz would pounce on the opportunity and start throwing a flurry of punches, before sending Joshua to the canvas yet again.
Oh, that hook, almost landing in the right hands from Ruiz, and now a barrage! The champ's in trouble, and now...
Joshua would get back up, but he would get dropped only moments later. But this time Joshua was done, walking to his corner with his gloves on the rope, trying to keep himself stabilized. The ref would end the fight and Andy Ruiz would be crowned to the heavyweight champion.
Joshua with the hard jab, trying to answer, but he's shaking these 4 times. He's got to stay engaged. Looks so tired, I think he wants out.
This would be where Anthony Joshua would become a shell of himself. He would eventually beat Andy Ruiz in the next fight by unanimous decision, but Joshua looked different, almost reserved. And it only got worse when he would fight Alexander Usyk 2 times, losing both times, once by unanimous decision and the other by split decision. Joshua was outpunched and outboxed in both fights. In Joshua's first fight with Usyk, he would throw a staggering 641 punches compared to Alexander Usyk's 529 punches. But Usyk was able to land his punches more accurately, landing 28% of his punches, while Joshua only landed 19.2% of his punches. In the Joshua vs. Usyk rematch, Joshua would throw a total of 492 punches compared to Alexander Usyk's insane 712 punches. This time, Anthony Joshua was able to land 25.2% of his punches. Usyk managed to land 23.9% of his punches, but in comparison, Usyk landed 46 more punches than Joshua. Which leads us to the Jermaine Franklin fight. Jermaine Franklin was supposed to be more of a stepping stone to build Joshua's confidence. Jermaine Franklin had 21 wins and 1 loss. Joshua was pretty hesitant to throw in this fight and trade hands. It was pretty evident that was the case when the stats came out. Joshua only threw 376 punches and landed 117 times. Jermaine Franklin, however, threw 426 punches but only managed to hit Joshua 58 times. Joshua would win the fight by unanimous decision. causing speculation by fans that Joshua is on a one-way ticket to retirement, as Joshua threw 116 punches less from his rematch with Usyk and 265 punches less from his first fight with Usyk. Now obviously there's room for an argument to be made, which is that Joshua, instead of just trading blows, was attempting to be more technical and accurate, to be more defensively aware. But then again, you could also make a case showing how much less Joshua is throwing, which in turn shows how much he's holding back, out of a possible fear of being knocked out. This would then bring us to the most recent time, which would be against Robert Helenius, where Joshua would win by knockout in the 7th round. Of course, it'd be unfair to compare his punch stats in his previous fights, since this fight ended early, but if you watched the fight, to say you were saddened by Joshua's performance would be an understatement. As much as it was a great knockout, the previous 6 rounds were slow, with Joshua throwing his jab, not really following up with anything else. No disrespect to Robert Helenius, but he was pretty much a standing target, hence the reason Wilder was able to finish him so quick.
Right hand and down he goes!
If you look at Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko or Dylan White, you can see there's a massive difference in Joshua's style. He used to be a high-volume puncher while also being accurate, but now it seems that Joshua just isn't throwing anymore. He's much more reserved and less ambitious to go out and get the knockout. A lot of the fans and media would find a similar conclusion, that Anthony Joshua is no way ready for Wilder. An article would be released by Boxing News 24 that stated, Anthony Joshua's fight against Robert Helenius was supposed to be a trial run to give him practice for the style that he would use to try and defeat Deontay Wilder next January in Saudi Arabia. Most would agree after watching Joshua mimic the same timid, safety-first style that former heavyweight champion Vladimir Klitschko used, that he's doomed for failure if he tries to do the same thing against Wilder, which is 100% accurate in my opinion. Wilder is going to turn up the heat and constantly provide overwhelming pressure on Anthony Joshua if he boxes like this. There's nothing to respect. If Joshua is afraid to throw hands, then Deontay Wilder has nothing to fear coming forward and throwing. The article would continue and would say this about Joshua's current coaching staff. With his new style, Joshua will not defeat Wilder or heavyweight champions Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. If his trainer Derek James cooked up the new style, Joshua needs to fire him and hook up with Brian Bomac McClentry, because that guy is a genius coach. AJ will still be a top contender, provided he's matched carefully by Eddie Hearn, but won't capture another world title for the remainder of his career, which with his current style, there is no way he could beat Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury. The pressure alone would be too much. Joshua still has the speed and power to knock out anyone. The problem is he's lost the courage and is too afraid to get clipped like in the Ruiz fight. Until Joshua fixes the problem, it's highly unlikely he beats Wilder. But these are just my opinions. Let me know what you guys think. If you liked the video, make sure to click the like button. If you disliked the video, make sure to click the dislike button. As always, have a great day.